Across the Southland, covering every aspect of the pandemic.
We begin tonight with John Fenolio, who's live in the KTLA5 newsroom with the latest developments. John?
Well, Sharon, Micah, we heard a much different message from President Trump today. He didn't compare coronavirus to the seasonal flu. He said the situation is bad, not under control, and could stretch on well into the summer. And he laid out a plan to try and flatten the curve of new infections over the next 2 weeks.
The new normal in America.
Inside or go home.
As the number of coronavirus cases surges, President Trump is now urging the public to hunker down for a while.
We'll see what happens, but they think August, could be July, could be longer than that.
The White House issuing revised guidelines for the next 15 days to slow the spread of the disease.
My administration is recommending that all Americans, including the young and healthy, work to engage in schooling from home when possible. Avoid gathering in groups of more than 10 people, avoid discretionary travel, and avoid eating and drinking at bars, restaurants, and public food courts.
More than 1,000 new infections across the country in the last 24 hours. More than 4,000 confirmed cases and growing. At least 80 people have died. Stocks tumbling again Monday. The Dow losing almost 3,000 points, its worst point drop in history. This despite the Fed cutting its benchmark interest rate to zero. Fears of a recession looming.
Is the U.S. economy heading into a recession?
Well, it may be. We're not thinking in terms of recession. We're thinking in terms of the virus. Once we stop, I think there's a tremendous pent-up demand, both in terms of the stock market and in terms of the economy.
But according to a newly revised UCLA forecast, the U.S. is already in a recession expected to last through September due to coronavirus. Public health officials warning the U.S. is facing a critical shortage of testing kits and intensive care hospital beds. Consider this. During a moderate outbreak, 200,000 Americans will need ICU beds. 64,000 will need ventilators. But the current capacity is less than 100,000 beds and just 62,000 ventilators, with 8,900 in the national stockpile.
We have the same number of cases now that Italy had 2 weeks ago. And we have a choice to make.
Italy now has the highest concentration of cases outside mainland China, where more than 2,000 people have died. The president asked to rate his administration's preparedness and response to the public health crisis.
I'd rate it at 10. I think we've done a great job. And it started with the fact that we kept a very highly infected country, despite all of even the professionals saying, no, it's too early to do that. We were very, very early with respect to China.
There was one bright spot during today's White House briefing. Officials announced that human testing of a potential vaccine has begun, but the development of a safe and effective vaccine for the public is still expected to be 12 to 18 months out. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
John, thank you.